This week on Christian World News, fire sweeps through the Hawaiian island of Maui. Hundreds of homes and businesses are devastated. See the church in the middle of it all and how it's helping survivors.
Plus, in Haiti, a kidnapped missionary and her daughter are now free as the island nation continues to suffer under gang violence. One worker tells us why she's holding out hope for Haiti.
And two generals fighting for power in Sudan, how every church and ministry is affected by the violence, and why the future of religious freedom may be at risk. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's edition of Christian World News. I'm George Thomas.
And I'm Wendy Griffith.
Well, devastating fires on Hawaii's island of Maui destroyed hundreds of homes and businesses, including historic sites that are hundreds of years old. In the middle of it all, there is a church. And Wendy, you had a chance to visit there very recently.
Well, yes, I was at Greg Laurie's Hawaii campus, and the church, thankfully, is not in Lahaina. It's in Kapalua, which is about, I'd say, 15 miles away.
Okay.
So far, I'm hearing good reports that the church is fine. But I was there just a few weeks ago. He and I walked through some of the historic streets that are now lying in ruins. CBN's Brody Carter reports on the devastation and how the church is helping victims.
There's still no food, no restaurants open, no stores open, nobody can get gas.
Lahaina, Hawaii is home to about 13,000 people in Maui. Now, the mayor says the town is gone after the largest and deadliest fire on record raged throughout the streets Wednesday and Thursday.
This was a home. There's their car.
The once historic district is being described as apocalyptic.
Unfortunately, almost every single business inside of Front Street is burned down.
Much of the area's culture has been erased, with as many as 270 buildings damaged or destroyed.
So anything that was a wooden structure is pretty much gone. Anything that was concrete, like some of the old courthouse or something like that, they're still standing up, but pretty much everything's burned down.
Look at this. We were not prepared for what we saw.
Richie Olston, a Maui helicopter pilot for 52 years, says the destruction reaches as far as the eye can see.
What we saw looked like an area that had been bombed and burned in a war zone.
Billows of black smoke and then a separate billow of white smoke.
Survivors tell disturbing stories of narrow escape, some with only the clothes on their back.
It was literally burnt to the ground with ash heap.
Niecy Davies from Nashville was vacationing just miles away from the flames. She tells CBN News she's just grateful to be alive.
An angel couple decided they were going to go to the airport a day early and said that they would squeeze us into their rental car.
Maui County officials say the wildfire in Lahaina is roughly 80% contained, but power isn't expected to be restored for days, if not weeks. They say a red flag alert with dry conditions, low humidity, and high winds helped fan the flames of the massive inferno.
The reason it spread so fast is there are reports of gusts of up to 85 miles per hour.
President Biden has declared Maui a disaster zone, making federal funds available to help those affected. The money will be used for temporary housing, home repairs, and other efforts to help pick up the pieces in Maui. CBN's Operation Blessing is connecting with churches in Hawaii and supporting their efforts. Southern California pastor Greg Laurie leads a congregation. Just 2 weeks ago, CBN's Wendy Griffith visited the Kumalani Chapel in Maui.
For the past 7 years, Greg and Kathy Laurie have been leading the flock at the open-air Kumalani Chapel, mostly virtually, after taking it over from a friend. Still, several times a year, they visit their Maui campus.
We did pray about this. It wasn't as easy as you would think, and everyone thinks, oh, Hawaii, of course you'd say yes. But, you know, this is a pre-existing congregation, and now they're going to have a video feed, and that's what we give them. We give them a live video feed of what's happening in California. But it's worked beautifully. The church has doubled in size. Since the 7 years we took it over, we've seen some 2,000 people make a profession of faith to follow Christ.
It's amazing how every time we come, we meet people from all over the country, in some cases all over the world. And it's a joy to be here with the flock that live here on Maui. It's very unique. It's a very special place. The people are so friendly. This congregation has open arms for everyone.
Ohana, Hawaiian for family.
And when in Maui, the Lauries like to have some serious fun.
The sun's starting to set. Beautiful.
This is your home away from home. This is,
It is.
Your happy place, I guess.
Yes, you know, I've been coming here since the 70s, and it hasn't changed dramatically. But this is like called Front Street, and this is out here, this harbor. This is where they used to have the whaling boats, and this was a whaling port.
But one of your favorite places is the shaved ice place that we're about to go to.
And it's shave ice. There's no D on it.
Oh, it's shave ice.
Right, so you don't want to call it snow cones. The best. Hello. How do you like it?
I love it. I love it.
Now, in a matter of hours, that's all changed. These images showing the devastation the fire brought to the harbor and to the shops and on Front Street.
We are reeling. It's been terrible to see.
Jonathan Laurie, the youngest son of evangelist and pastor Greg Laurie of Harvest Christian Fellowship, tells CBN's Faith Nation their church is finding it hard to cope in the immediate aftermath.
About 10 families or more that we know of already have lost their homes, lost their businesses, had to run out of the house in the middle of the night because they heard the evacuation call.
Contacting his team on the ground is hard because communications are down. Families with nothing left are taking refuge inside the church while emergency crews work round the clock.
We need to be praying for the peace of the people that are there. We need to be praying for their safety. I heard officials saying that they're up to 10 days out from having electricity.
And recovery and relief efforts will take far longer as Hawaiians hit by the fires look to rebuild after the devastation that swept through their homes and businesses. Brody Carter, CBN News.
Absolutely, just unbelievable.
I just can't believe. Wow. I was there 3 weeks ago. We were walking through this beautiful, historic, the old part of Lahaina. Pastor Greg says he's been going there since the 70s, and he was talking about how it never changes. And in an instant, it is all done. And I just want to point out, too, that the church, thankfully, was not in the epicenter. The church is probably, like I said, 10, 15 miles away in a different city called Kapalua. So thankfully, they can be the hands and feet of Jesus right now, and they are working with Samaritan's Purse. And but I know that it's still hard to connect with cell lines being down.
Okay, folks, you can, if you want to help, you can go to our website at cbnnews.com.
Yeah, please help. Wow.
Wendy?
Well, turning to some good news out of Haiti, an American nurse and her child are free after being kidnapped and held hostage for about 2 weeks.
Their release is an answer to the prayers of Christians all over the world. Mark Martin has that story.
Amid ongoing violence that briefly forced the U.S. Embassy to close its doors this week, an answer to prayer in Haiti.
My name is Alex. I'm a nurse from New Hampshire, but now I live in Haiti.
American nurse Alex Dorsonville and her young daughter are free after being released by the gang that took them captive. El Roy, the Christian humanitarian relief organization where Dorsonville works, gave thanks in a statement on the website. We praise God that He has proven Himself faithful as He restores, supports, and strengthens Alex and her family, the ministry of El Roy Haiti, and the community that Alex has impacted and continues to impact with her ministry in Haiti. The U.S. State Department confirmed the news.
We welcome their release. We have no greater priority, of course, than the safety and security of U.S. citizens overseas.
The details surrounding their freedom are not clear, but Haitian law enforcement reported that negotiations began shortly after the abduction. Dorsonville is married to the ministry's director. These images from El Roy, Haiti show her treating Haitian children. She and her child were kidnapped late last month while working near the capital of Port-au-Prince. Thousands of Haitians protested this week, calling for more protection from the gangs that rule most of Port-au-Prince. According to the UN, more than 1,600 people have been reported killed, injured, or kidnapped in the first 3 months of 2023. Armed groups mostly abduct women and children, holding them hostage for ransom or as a bargaining chip. One security analyst reports the least protected people are usually humanitarian groups. Despite the grim situation, Gloria Rapica, the founder of Love and Hope Ministries, a missions group that works in Haiti, tells CBN's Faith Nation that hope is not lost.
That's why we continue to invest in children. We invest in pastors, helping people, because we know that God can change the situation at any time. There's always hope in Jesus.
Mark Martin, CBN News.
Up next, the fighting in Sudan is taking its toll on the country's churches. Some fear religious freedom itself is at stake.
Welcome back. Brutal fighting in one of Africa's most strategic countries has millions trapped or on the run. Sudan's capital seeing some of the fiercest battles as the army tries to quash a rebel force.
Sudanese Christians, who are a minority in the mostly Muslim nation, are risking their lives to help their fellow countrymen. One leads Sudan's army as the country's de facto leader. The other, a notorious rebel leading a powerful paramilitary force. Once allies, these two Sudanese generals have been fighting for months to control one of Africa's most strategic countries.
I don't know any family that hasn't been affected by this, hasn't been impacted. Pastors, church community leaders, they've all had to flee.
For 10 years, Tina Ramirez sought to advance human rights and religious freedom in this predominantly Muslim country. She worries all of that may be in jeopardy now as civil war engulfs the country.
The situation there is very dire. Churches have been bombed and attacked and looted, so have mosques and other places of worship.
Fighting between General Burhan's army and General Dagalo's rebel rapid support force has left at least 3,000 people dead and 12,000 more wounded. According to human rights experts, the situation in the western Sudan region of Darfur is particularly horrific, with reports of rebel fighters going on a killing spree.
The bodies of at least 87 ethnic Masalit and others allegedly killed last month by rapid support forces and their allied militia in West Darfur have been buried in a mass grave.
Using thermal detection data from NASA satellite images, Yale University's Conflict Observatory found those fighters deliberately targeted at least 26 communities in Darfur, burning down entire neighborhoods and villages.
A lot of this is ethnic, a lot of this is tribal. And there is absolutely some targeted violence.
Mike Congrove leads Empower One, a ministry training Sudanese Christians to start churches. Congrove says Christians from different denominations and parachurch groups in Darfur are working together despite enormous risks.
We're really seeing some great cooperation to make sure guys are okay, men and women are okay, that folks who need to get out are able to escape and getting some support that they need.
Nearly 3 million people have been displaced within the country. Another 800,000 have escaped to neighboring countries like Chad, South Sudan, Egypt, and Ethiopia.
As they are trying to flee the city into the Nuba Mountains, part of South Sudan, over into Chad and other areas, the streets are lined with dead bodies.
Meanwhile, the UN says the country's healthcare infrastructure is collapsing, with 80% of the hospitals now out of service.
Hospitals have been taken over by the RSF and these other forces. The medical supplies have been targeted and attacked. Medical workers have been attacked.
Congrove's group has set up aid distribution points close to the Sudanese border for the thousands streaming out of the country. He's asking people around the world to pray for a ceasefire, and especially for those who've decided to stay and help their countrymen.
And I just was on a call over the weekend with a key leader in Darfur. And he said, I want to keep reaching people for Christ. And he's someone who hasn't left. And a lot of people have. And he's intentionally staying in and surrounded by fighting. And he's asking for prayer.
Wow, so much has changed, George, in the last few years.
It has, and there was really hope that things would turn around after years of a dictatorship, 30-plus years, and folks like Tina working to bring religious freedom and human rights, something that was unheard of under a Muslim dictatorship. But now to see this war is just really, really devastating.
Well, our prayers for them.
For sure.
Well, coming up, the story of the Christian family that shielded Jews from the Nazis and the price they paid. Now, the story of the Ten Boom family is coming to the big screen. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to the broadcast. Corrie ten Boom and her family risked everything to hide Jewish refugees from the Nazis in World War II. Their heroic story is told in her 1971 autobiography, The Hiding Place.
This week, that story is coming to the big screen for international audiences. Ephraim Graham caught up with the cast and creators for a preview.
Oh, my dear Cornelia Arnolda Johanna ten Boom. My little Corey. When the time comes for courage, your father will give you everything you need.
Courage. It's the best word to describe the story of Corrie ten Boom and her humble Dutch family of Christian watchmakers who hid hundreds of Jewish neighbors during World War II, risking everything and enduring unspeakable evil.
I have some news.
Out with it then. Isn't he coy about it?
This story, made for the stage, now moves to the big screen.
I'm Nan Gurley, and I play Corrie ten Boom.
My name is Matt Logan, and I am the director and designer of the stage play.
My name is Pete Peterson. I am the writer of the stage play and the producer of the film The Hiding Place.
I'm leaving my position at the church.
What? But how can you, Willem?
I think ministry is not my calling after all.
But what will you do?
I've opened a home for the elderly.
The elderly.
Peterson's play is based on Corrie ten Boom's book of the same name.
What's the process of turning The Hiding Place into a stage play?
That is a great question. I went into it with a lot of fear and trembling. So my wife and I jumped in a plane and started in Amsterdam, visited The Hiding Place in Haarlem, where Corrie lived, and then we drove across Germany to visit Ravensbrück concentration camp, where Corrie and Betsy ended up. And until you've been in a concentration camp, you can't really fathom how big the evil that happened was. To walk into the gas chamber and then to literally stand in front of the oven where Betsy ten Boom was disposed of. You know, that's a process of research that really fundamentally changed my relationship to the story. And the one thing that was really clear to me is that it's really easy to think that The Hiding Place is about Corrie ten Boom, and it is, obviously. But Betsy ten Boom is the real hero of this story in a lot of ways. Like, Corrie's intent with telling this story in some ways was to honor the beautiful person that her sister was. And so I really wanted to be committed to making sure that we told that story as well.
Think she gets overlooked in history?
I think she does, yeah. Lots of people know the name Corrie ten Boom, but the name Betsy ten Boom is not talked about as much. And Betsy is just one of the most remarkable people that I've ever encountered. Her ability to be grateful in the midst of the worst circumstances is something that I struggle to do even when I'm just having a bad Monday.
Kept no Jews, we conducted no raids.
Perhaps it would help if you considered me a priest.
Why do you think it's important for this to go from stage now to screen?
Because it will reach so many more people. We'll get to know this story. The current generation doesn't know a lot about Corrie. And it's so important for this story to be retold and retold, not only from the standpoint that if you don't know history, you're doomed to repeat it, but also we need to be encouraged. We need to know the names of the people in that cloud of witnesses.
Efra Graham, CBN News, Nashville, Tennessee.
The international release for The Hiding Place movie is Wednesday, August 16th. To learn more, go to cbnnews.com. Finally, this week, the producer of a new Bible-themed video game is on a mission to help young people engage in Scripture in a powerful and transformative way.
CBN's Billy Hallowell has the story.
As more and more young people are leaving the faith, Arvis Soli believes his new interactive video game could help them re-engage.
We really want to dive into creating a video game for younger generation to be able to experience Jesus and to be able to get familiar with the stories and the events from the Bible.
This, as statistics show, young people are becoming increasingly more secular and less connected to Scripture. According to Barna, 41% of teens never use a Bible and just 20% read one weekly.
This game might be the only Bible some people read. We want to take players back to origin, back to zero, and make them able to dive into this huge world of the biblical stories and events.
Praise is already pouring in for Gate Zero and its efforts to engage the next generation.
I was honestly astonished at the graphical artistry that they had done.
Gate Zero has a unique corner of this market. I thought it was a really good interaction for the player.
Gate Zero, set in a dystopian world in the year 2072, sends players on a quest through time to solve a mystery. The idea was birthed in 2020 when Soli and his team created an interactive model of the Second Temple for a Christian youth camp.
3 weeks before this event was going to be held, COVID came. So everything was just cancelled, and we were there with a model of Second Temple and didn't know what to do with it.
With the world suddenly shut down, Soli and his team got creative, morphing the digital effort into a full-scale video game, giving campers a deeper, wider look at the Bible. Now, 3 years later, Game Zero is scaling the project to create an inspirational experience for young people around the globe.
We believe that the younger generation, they need to get familiar with the Bible. To at least when they are taking decisions in life, they need to be able to understand on what ground they are taking the decisions. So we see the gaming medium as a really, really effective way of giving them like context, telling the stories, and also interact with the stories and events. So in that way, they are able to understand the significance of the message that Jesus came with.
It seems the idea is resonating in a big way. A recent Kickstarter for Gate Zero shattered the team's goal in mere days, bringing in well over $300,000. Fans can currently play a 20-minute Gate Zero demo, with Soli and his team planning to release a full version of the game featuring 30 stories from the Gospels in 2024. Billy Hollowell, CBN News.
Thank you, Billy. Well, folks, that is it for this week's edition of Christian World News.
It went by fast.
It did.
Until next week, from all of us here, goodbye and God bless you.